etc. here. Today's guide is going to be covering off the stats page for population. If you don't know how to get into the population page on stats, it is with Control and R. So if we have a look at the main island here in Cape Trelawney, Crown Falls, we can see the current breakdown on the island. Now, when you are presented with this page, the things you'll be looking at here is the min and max. So currently I have the housing available for 520 people, engineers, and I only have 494. And the same with the investors. We can see here I have 25,130 and I only have 22,576 at the moment. So I'm obviously not fulfilling their needs on something. Down here we can have a representation of the current happiness on the actual population. Over here we will have our breakdown here, what the current average happiness is, the population levels, and again happiness and population levels. And what we can do on here is we can actually expand this and we can actually see exactly by individual house what the current happiness is, what the current population is, and the actual supply. Also, how populated is the actual house at the moment. So we can actually filter these and actually, if we really wanted to actually have a look at a specific house. So this one is at 79%. This is 77%. So we can actually click on the actual jump to button and we can actually see the reason we are at 38 people here and we are struggling because of electricity supply. So if we go back into the population page again now, as I say, we can do exactly the same on the investors. However, we're going to see a little bit more information here. We can actually see what the actual population level and happiness numbers are. We can also see the active buffs that are actually applied to the individual houses. So we can actually see in detail what buffs they're applying and what the actual population level is and what the actual ratio is for how full it is. Now, if we have a look at residents over time, we can actually get an accurate overview over the last 2 hours what the current population levels were. So according to this, we have got a fairly steady and constant amount of engineers that are slightly fluctuating up and down. However, it's fairly consistent. However, the investors, as you can see, they have been up and down quite a lot. There's definitely been a problem with the actual supply of goods to keep the people happy here. So if we actually have a look at here, as we can see, we have two problems: the steam carriages and the coffee right this second. So now we can go into storage and then we can utilize our stock over time and we can actually find the coffee stock over time. Yeah, we actually have had some income of coffee and it is going up, so that's why the gauge was filling up again. So coffee has come back in, so we have had coffee come in, but not enough to keep it completely fulfilled all the time. Whereas if we have a look at the steam carriages, that has never been a problem to actually have any of the actual steam carriages. So if we have a look at this island, we can actually utilize one of those features that I just highlighted. That is the jump to feature. So if we have a look at this island, we have investors, engineers, artisans, and we have a lot of workers here as well. However, if we mouse over here, we can actually see we have a farmer as well. So if you have an island that has a random house that you just haven't been able to upgrade, but you can't physically find it just by looking, you can go back into Control and R and then select the residence and then open up the farmers and you can literally jump to the house and find exactly where it is. So if you ever have a house that is hiding away from you, you can utilize the jump to feature and find it quite quickly and just do whatever you want to do with that house. So let's have a look at the previous island at a slightly older version where we have a multitude of different populations on here. So if we have a look at the population tab again with Control and R, we can now see over here, these are the current populations on here. And if we have a look at the residents over time, we can see a lot of graphs and information on here. So if you can just understand where the peaks and troughs are, it gives you a good idea on understanding where the populations have gone up and where they've gone down, and if there's been any problematic points in the last 2 hours. So green is farmers, blue workers, red artisans, purple engineers, and the investors are the light blue. So as we can see here, the farmers were at 1,500 2 hours ago, and then they just fell completely off. So we've obviously done some upgrades to the farmers to upgrade them to workers. However, we can see the workers, you'd expect them to go up, but they've gone down. But as we can see here, the artisans have had an extremely high peak on their population levels. So I've obviously upgraded farmers to workers and then done a bigger upgrade of workers into artisans because they're going up at a higher arc and rapid rate. So if we have a look here at the same time, I've taken the engineers and they've gone down, and the investors have gone up at a rapid rate because they've got a larger population base. They went up to 5,812. Then they went down. There isn't anything we can do in regards to upgrading the investors to anything else higher. So there's one thing that could have happened. Either I downgraded some of the investors, or more likely, the investors that I had have shown fought on some of their production items. So again here, we have a look at this, we can see the engineers have gone up. And here the artisans have gone down. And they've consistently gone up the engineers. Then the engineers went down and the artisans, so the investors went up. Now we can see here, a little over an hour and a half ago, the artisans are going up and down in their population, so it's definitely getting a bit wavy. However, the engineers are staying constant. So I've not done upgrades, and the workers I haven't downgraded because they stayed constant and flat. So at this point, there was something wrong with the artisans. So I can see that, or back then we would have probably seen the population levels numbers going up and down, up and down, up and down, and we couldn't figure out why it was. And then here we have workers being upgraded again. And then we've gone up here. So if we have a look at the population requirements here, something happened an hour and a half ago. So if we have a look at the artisans here, these are the items we'll be looking at. So if we have a quick look at the items over here, sausages, stock over time. The sausages were never a problem. Bread is a bit of a problem. The bread has gone up, and that's where we just saw another uptick in the last 10 minutes or so in the population levels, because the bread has gone back up. But an hour and a half ago, there wasn't a problem with the bread. So that wasn't the problem. The next item we'll have a look at is the canned food. Canned food has stayed constant, so there's always been a supply. Sewing machines is going up and down, consistently going down, but there were still supplies, so that wasn't a problem. Fur coat was constant as well, so we've narrowed down all the consumables apart from one item, and that is the soap. Now, as we can see, an hour and a half ago we had no soap. We had a little bit, and then it went down, and then it's gone up again, and then it went down again. So that's where we're seeing the waviness of the artisans. So the problem was the soap an hour and a half ago. And again, we've just seen a constant uptick. So that's where the artisan levels went up. And then when that extra bread is kicked in again, that is where the artisan levels have gone up. So we can see previously the soap was a problem. The problem in the last 10 minutes ago was the bread. So you can now narrow down where your productions are having struggles on keeping your people happy. Now we can do exactly the same sort of thing by looking at all islands as well. So if we have a look at all islands here, and we go into population, we now have a full breakdown on the current population levels on all islands. So as we can see here, the investors are constantly just going up and up and up. The farmers are going up and then having a slight downtick, but the workers are going up. You can see a constant number of upgrades and downgrades and population levels balancing out between each of them. And then if we have a look at the New World, the Honolero staying fairly consistent. But the Ibero, there have definitely been ups and downs in the Ibero levels, but there hasn't been huge differences in the Honoleros. So we haven't been doing lots of upgrades, so there's definitely been issues with the Ibero. So now what we can do is click on the residence, and then we can, this is making sure you have all islands selected, click on the Ibero, and now we can see all of the individual islands that have Iberos on here. And again, you can jump directly to the individual island, and you can actually see levels going up and down here on this island. So there seems to be a bit of an issue with the Ibero on this island. All the other islands are staying fairly consistent, but as you can see, population levels here are a problem. So again, we can jump to this island, and we can go into a deeper investigation as we did with the artisans and see where the problem was. Hopefully you enjoyed today's video. If you do appreciate any likes on the video and any subscriptions to the channel, and comment down below if there's another video you'd like me to cover off next. Stay safe out there, and I'll catch you on the next one.